Hey friends, this is Wendy with Love and Stampin'. Today we are using the Nested Friends bundle to make a really cute card. This card turned out so awesome. I do want to just say in advance that this video is a little weird. It's a little splotchy because I actually did this as a Facebook Live with my paper party friends. And so you're going to kind of see me here talking with my hands, and it might not always make sense with what I'm saying to you on the voiceover. But I took the video and I edited it way down. It was actually an hour and 40-minute video. And so I cut out all the excess parts, but this card turned out so cute that I really wanted to show it here on YouTube. So basically I'm taking all of the parts that need to be colored and I'm inking them up with Memento Tuxedo black ink, and I'm stamping them on basic white thick cardstock. And I'm gonna do that a couple of times to get really nice finished impressions. And I really want those colors to, or that black to be really nice and solid for my coloring. So if you're wondering what the paper party is, or you've heard about it but you're not sure, it is available in my online store as a virtual option where you can watch all of the videos. There is like 16 videos, I think. There's a PDF for 12 cards, and you can get access to all of that for $35. Or you can subscribe to my Creative Vault. There is a link below the video to do that. That is a membership, and you can get access through the Creative Vault. And if you use code VAULT, VAULT, you will get it half off for your first month. So Creative Vault is $14.95 a month. So you would get that first month for it's like $7.47 or something. So here we've colored the inside of the bird's nest in soft suede dark. We're coloring the outside of the bird nest in crumb cake dark. And then, actually it might be crumb cake light. And then we're going to go through and do some different shading and different things like that. Again, the quality of this video is not quite as good as my normal videos, and it's just because I did this as a Facebook Live and then I downloaded this video and uploaded it here to YouTube. So you lose some of the quality in the filming, or I guess I should say in the downloading. So anyway, I'm going through and I'm gonna color all of that with the crumb cake. Then I'm coming in with the soft suede light, and I'm just going into little areas in this bird's nest to kind of darken it up and give it some depth. Now, if you really were dedicated to coloring this with great detail, you could spend hours coloring this bird's nest. You would go and look for anywhere that there was a stick under another stick, and you would darken that area. I do not have that kind of time or patience. So for me, I just went in a few different areas that looked like they would be a little bit recessed, and I added some darker color. The other thing that I did is I went with my dark soft suede and I went underneath the rim of the bird's nest and down at the bottom and just tried to give this bird's nest a little bit more depth and texture. Now, there's many ways you could color this bird's nest, as far as you could use watercolor, you could use colored pencils, and as far as the shading and coloring, you could do lots of different things. Here I'm going in with that dark soft suede and darkening up some of those areas even more and creating just even more depth. And there you can see that where I put it underneath that little rim of the bird's nest, it kind of makes it look like the top, almost like a little cup. So anywhere that an area is dark, it is going to recess or move backwards. Anywhere that an area is light, it's going to pull forward towards your eye. So here I'm going in with my mint macaron and I'm coloring all of these leaves, partial dark on one side, light on the other side. Again, not super detailed with the leaves, but a little bit of variation in the color. I really like the mint macaron for the color of the leaves because I wanted to keep this card very soft and springy. So that was my goal, was to keep everything soft, muted colors. Now we're going to color this little branch. And I realized that I stamped the branch upside down. I wanted the branch to be facing up. So I had to flip my cardstock over because I want my shadow to be at the bottom of the branch. And I want it to be lighter towards the top of the branch. In all, this branch actually ends up pretty much being covered by the bird's nest in the end. But, you know, in the moment, it was the thing that seemed to make sense. Here I chose to use Balmy Blue Light, Balmy Blue Dark, and Night of Navy Light. The Balmy Blue Light is in the center of the bird, and then the Night of Navy is what I'm going around the edges of the bird with to give more depth there. And then, of course, under the wing, anywhere where two places touch or an object lays over another object. And I literally feel like I'm quoting my friend Kelly Taylor when I say that, because she says it all of the time. So here we're going to die cut all of the pieces out. So I'm just lining up the die cuts very carefully because there are a lot of little twigs and branches. So it's really easy to kind of mess up the die cutting on this. And after we've put all that effort into coloring, we don't want to mess up the die cutting. So it's worth taking just that extra few seconds to die cut. Make sure your placement is correct. Okay, so this video is only 20 minutes long, which truthfully for me is right about normal. But in order for me to make it that long, I had to cut a lot of stuff and I had to speed things up. So in this die cut set, there are these little eggs. However, these little eggs are bigger than expected. They are not in keeping with the size of the bird. So if this bird had to lay these eggs, this bird would probably be dead. I used Copic markers to color these eggs because I couldn't find a color I was really happy with the Stampin' blends. So I used an E31 and E34, and then I went over the top of the eggs and made speckles using the Early Espresso Stampin' Right marker. I glued the eggs into the nest and then I moved on to the next thing. So here we're using Balmy Blue ink to do ink blending and make the center of this card like blue and beautiful. And then we're going to do some stamping and we're going to assemble the card. So I feel like this is a good point to switch to story time. So if you're new around here and you've never watched one of my videos, every Saturday we try to do story time, which is where I just either tell a funny story from my life, share something that's going on in my life, you fill in the blank. If that's not your jam, you don't like that kind of chit chat for card making, that's okay. We don't expect you to stick around. You can also press mute and just watch me assemble the card and listen to your favorite music. Lots of options. We would prefer that you don't leave us a nasty comment because me and my friends really don't appreciate it. So Saturdays are for me to stamp, create, enjoy, and spend time with my friends here on YouTube. So here we go. I have a whole list of story times because, as you know, the entire month of January, we never had a story time because my husband worked all the hours. All in all, he ended up working 330 hours in the month of January, and life was just absolutely insane. It was crazy. So I had a really great story to tell you guys, and then I never got to do story time. So we're going to go way back all the way to New Year's Eve, December 31st, 2022. So on New Year's Eve, that was before all hell broke loose, frankly, because my husband got called out on New Year's Day, and then it was like we never saw him again. Can you please lay down somewhere, ma'am? Sorry, you guys. I'm sure you're hearing my dog's collar shaking and she's scratching and she's snorting. It's like, my Lord, get a clue, lady. Okay, so it's, by the way, before I get into the story, it's 8:01 p.m. on Friday night, February 10th, and you're about to see this on Saturday morning. I have baked 4 loaves of bread. I have made 2 pans of dessert. I have chopped celery. I've made dinner tonight. And I'm going to go back in the house and make cookies because we are hosting jambalaya night tomorrow at my house. So I got a lot still to do this evening, but that's okay. I wanted to make sure that you had your story time video this morning or whenever you're watching this. So anyway, so December 31st. So we get an epic amount of rain. So for California, it's very unusual for us to get like massive amounts of rain at one time. So we get tons and tons of rain over the week after Christmas, and there was flooding everywhere. So, I mean, not the kind of flooding that you see with hurricanes, but like, you know, torrential rain type floodings. So again, keep in mind it's California. So for us, it's a lot. For everyone else, probably not much in comparison. However, there was a levee that broke. I mean, cars were underwater. I mean, it was a thing, okay? Here, back to the card real quick. I did not like how big these eggs were. I could not stand it. So my fix for that was to cover the bottoms of the eggs with leaves to make the eggs appear a little bit smaller and tone them down a bit. So that is what I did. That's why we have leaves in front of the eggs. And it worked, and it was a great plan. So anyway, we decided we were going to go for a car ride, and it was in the middle of the afternoon. It wasn't like it was nighttime or anything. So we got up mid-morning, and we decided we were going to go for a truck ride. We have a truck, and has 4-wheel drive. It's safe, all that. Don't come at me for going out in this, okay? It wasn't raining that day. It was just like kind of like the end of the storm, and there was like all of this like flooding, and the rivers were at the highest they'd ever been. So we wanted to go to some of the lakes and see how full they were. You know, we're big boat lake people in the summertime. And we wanted to go see some of the rivers that were flowing super high that haven't been flowing in years, frankly. So we take off, we go out, and we're like 3 hours driving around, looking at stuff. We take our dogs. Our dog, we took Truby. Skeeter stayed home in the kennel because Skeeter's afraid to go in the car now. So we don't know why. I have no idea. It's just a thing all of a sudden randomly that happened. So anyway, we had a great time. And on the way back, the very next day, we were going to go to our friend's house to have a brunch. And I was in charge of bringing a fruit plate. So I told my husband, we need to stop at the market so that I can grab some fruit to do this fruit plate. Which, by the way, can I just say to all of you, if you are planning to host something in January, don't ask for fruit because it sucks. Fruit is not a thing in the middle of winter, and even in California. Like, I was looking and looking and looking, and everything just looked gross. So it was super disappointing. And can you please lay down somewhere? Go lay down. So it was super disappointing. So anyway, I go in the market. I'm looking for the fruit. I come out of the market, and there are firefighters throughout the parking lot because there's a river, or it's a creek actually, next to this supermarket, and it's really high. And so they're kind of just looking at it, seeing like if there's any spots that need attending. There was a little bit of flooding in the parking lot in one area where like it had gotten clogged up. And so there's like this, I don't know, 3 firefighters, and they're walking over this berm next to this creek. And so I don't really pay any mind to them. So when I come out, I start looking for my truck, my husband's truck, and where has he parked. Now, this is the part of the story where I'm going to try really hard not to be a turd, because I know he feels bad about this, but do you all have moments with your husbands or your significant others where you're like, what is happening in your brain when you make these decisions? Like, I was baffled. So he parks. So I look over to the right and I see that he's parked up, not in a parking spot, but it up against this berm. So I don't really think anything of it when I see the truck, but I'm like, that's weird. Why would you not park in a parking lot or parking spot? So there's plenty of parking spots, but he's not parked in a parking spot. He's parked over by this berm thing. That's the only thing I know to call it. It's like a little hill going over towards the creek. So, mind you, it has had we've had torrential rain, several inches in a very short amount of time, okay? So I see the truck. I know he doesn't see me because he's also faced away from the store. So I go walking over to the truck. I get to the truck and I realize that I have to walk up this berm in order to get into the truck because he's pulled right up next to it. Again, there are moments in every marriage where it's just like, what is happening? So hindsight, I probably should have gone and knocked on his door and been like, hey, Dodo, you think you might want to move the truck to where I could actually get into the truck? But I don't do that because I just don't. So I go and I, walk over and walk up this berm, and I have both feet planted on the ground. My shoulders, my feet are squarely facing the truck, okay? The door of the truck, the passenger door. So it's not like I'm standing on one foot, I'm not off balance, and literally, you guys, the leaves that are on the ground, you know what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen. The leaves that are on the ground go straight out from under me, and I go down like a ton of bricks. I have my purse in one hand, I have a bag in the other hand with the fruit in it, and it's got yogurt, and I hit hard. Now, for most people, this would be kind of like, oh, okay, that just happened. But for me, it scared me to death because I have a spinal fusion. And so I have rods and screws and all this stuff. So not only does it hurt because I've just landed on my tailbone, and thank you, Jesus, that my feet went under the truck, because had they gone up any higher, they probably would have slammed into the truck and I probably would have broke a leg. So I sit there for a second. I scream because it scared me. I mean, it scared me to death. It's not like I lost my footing. The ground literally left out from under me. So I am sitting there for a second and I'm just in absolute shock. Anger, horror, frustration, embarrassment, all wash over me at the same time. And fear, because I'm like, oh gosh, have I broken something? So I kind of do that evaluation that you do, when you fall and you're like, am I hurt? Am I hurt? Am I okay? Am I okay? I do that and I'm like, I think I'm okay, but I'm not really going to know until I get up from here. So I set everything down. My husband by this time is already out of the truck. It all happened super fast. The firefighters who were there rush over to me and they're like, are you okay? Can we help you? And I was like, yes, please. Because I'm afraid I'm going to fall again because there's all these wet, slippery leaves. And I was like, I guess I fall in the leaves. And the firefighter said, yeah, it's really slippery. And so my husband comes around, Kevin comes around, he's trying to help me. And I am beside myself. First, God love him, I'm so angry at him. I'm furious. And really, it's one of those moments where it's misplaced anger. Ultimately, I should have just said to him, hey, can you move the truck? But there's this moment in my head that's like, do you have any common sense? You know what I mean? You guys all know what I mean. That moment of fury and frustration that washes over you. And so I was embarrassed because of the firefighters. I mean, come on. Who really wants to fall in front of a bunch of firefighters? And then I was scared because I thought I was hurt. Anyway, long story short, I ended up with a pretty chunky dunk bruise on my butt, and I was fine. I've been fine ever since. Like I said, it happened on December 31st. It was a heck of a way to end the year, y'all. It took me several hours to get my act back together after that. I was pretty shook up. So there's your story time for this Saturday. We're having to go all the way back to last year to get caught up because we've missed so much time together. I hope you guys have an amazing day. I hope you enjoyed the card that I made. There's more pictures of it over on my blog if you want to go look. And if you want to shop with me, shoploveandstampin.com.